Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to be back. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up. I did manage to read 12 books in June, which is not only more books than I've read in any month this year, but also I believe it was more books than I read in January to May combined. So June was definitely a big kickstart back into reading for me. And I decided to do my wrap-up a little differently, so please let me know what you think of this format. Basically what I decided to do, because I have such a bad memory and sometimes I feel like my wrap-ups are very shallow because I've already forgotten the first couple books I read in the month, was to update you on my thoughts of them right as or as close as I can remember to finishing those books. So there's clips from a bunch of different random days in June in this video of me talking about my thoughts basically right when I finish the books. So I just thought it'd be fun to try something new. I really like wrap-up videos, so I was excited to maybe have some more in-depth thoughts to give you guys, but it also does make these videos a little bit longer. So let me know what you think of the format. I will also put timestamps in the description box if you want to skip to a specific part where I talk about a specific book. Okay, so now we're gonna jump to Past Emma when I finished my first book of June. So it is June 4th, and I just finished Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and I have some thoughts. First of all, I buddy read this with my friend Audrey, and it was so fun. I think I'm gonna give this, it's 3.5 stars. The way we had split up our buddy read was every 10 chapters, there's 30 chapters, we would update each other. And so I when I think of this book, I kind of think of it in 3 parts. And the second part, chapters 11 through 20, to me were the best. So gripping, a bunch of stuff was happening, but one of my main complaints with this is the pacing seems so slow, and then the last 10 chapters seemed like they were too fast. The first 160 pages of this book, I was it was a struggle to get through. The pacing was so slow, nothing was happening. We were just getting introduced to 30, what felt like 30 random students at this school, and I was I can't keep track of any of you. I don't know what's going on. Then the middle got really good, and then the ending just felt kind of rushed, and it did kind of have that thing where the big mystery that was introduced in this was not you don't figure it out by the end of this one. It's to be continued, which is kind of annoying, but there was enough there was some small little things that were mini mysteries, I guess, that were resolved along the way, but the big one was not. But yes, I enjoyed it, and Audrey and I are going to be buddy reading the other 2 books in the series, so I'm excited. Hello, it's June 5th, and I just finished The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I gave this 3 stars. This is about a woman with severe agoraphobia, and it kind of has Rear Window vibes in the sense of she kind of lives vicariously through the people who live across the street from her. She'll look in their look outside of her window into their window and speculate about what's going on in their lives or people on the street and things like that, and she witnesses a stabbing in one of the neighbors' houses. And that's kind of the basic premise of it. There's a lot more to it than that. It has been on my radar for a really long time, and I've heard really mixed things about it, but I was curious because Netflix just put out the movie with Amy Adams, and I've heard that's not as good as the book, but I'm still down to watch it. But I was that's literally the perfect excuse to finally read this before I watch it. But I just found it to be a pretty average thriller. The thing that really made me drop it down 2 stars was it demonized mental illness at the end, which I feel is done so much and is so overdone and is so not a good thing to be doing. So that was really frustrating. And then just the pacing, like the first half was so slow and really nothing happened. And then towards the end, like the last maybe the last 50 pages, there was like almost too many plot twists that were getting like, that happened and then got resolved and then happened and got resolved. And I was like, it would have been better to maybe spread these out a little bit to make the entire book more interesting. But I feel like that's what always happens with like 3-star thrillers for me, are like those thrillers that are pretty basic. Like they're good, I don't regret reading it. They, were very entertaining in the second half, but like the first half is so slow. So those are my thoughts on this one. Last night I stayed up a little bit too late, but I finished The Project by Courtney Summers. I was reading it through Libby. And I gave this 2 stars, which I was really sad about because I really, really loved Sadie, and I also loved Cracked Up to Be, which are the only 2 things that I've read by Courtney Summers before this. And then it's like this was about a cult, and it was by Courtney Summers, and I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna like this. So I'm pretty surprised that it ended up being a 2-star. The book is about basically this sister who joins this cult and kind of disappears, and her younger sister is trying to figure out like what happened to her, and so she ends up kind of digging into this whole cult situation. The characters were so like shallow to me, but my main issue with it was the way that the chapters were broken up. Like it would go from different perspectives between the 2 sisters. Like each chapter would be focused on a different sister. But instead of labeling it like with a sister's name, it was labeled with the year. And so you got like 2013, 17, 18, but then sometimes like one sister had 2 years attached to her name. And so you had like 2018 for both of them, but then 2017 for one of them, and then 2013 for both of them, I think. So like every new chapter, I would spend the first page just looking for clues as to which sister this chapter is about. And then once I figured that out, I'd have to reread the chapter, that first page, to like have in my brain like, okay, this is about this one. And I shouldn't have to do that. I don't know if it was like, because typically when I get ebooks through Libby, that's what I read at night, because I don't need like a reading light or anything. So I don't know if it was because it was like my before bed story, so my brain wasn't like at maximum functional capacity. But I think it's the fact that it was just really poorly organized. So that was so infuriating, and it never got better. So the only reason I kept going was because like I was interested enough in seeing how it ended, but the ending wasn't like worth the effort of trying to decode every single chapter. So anyway, that's my review of The Project. I have many books on which to update you on. I have done a horrible job in the last week of talking about the books right after I finish them, so we have a couple to do today, but I am on a reading roll. I am very proud of myself. This is the most that I've read in months. So the first book I finished since we last talked was The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver, and I believe I gave this a 4. It broke me. It is about a sibling relationship. I went into it blind, so I'm very hesitant actually to tell you anything about it, besides the fact that there is a sibling relationship. My only complaint, I guess, was that it wasn't longer, which I've seen on Goodreads other people saying as well, that they wish that it was longer because some of the relationships and friendships between our main character and their brother's friends, I would have liked more time with that. But aside from that, it was very good. I mean, it's a very quick read. I really loved Mason Deaver's other book as well, I Wish You All the Best. Both very good. Then yesterday I finally finished listening to Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This is a YA contemporary romance. I gave this 3 stars. It was exactly what I wanted. Very kind of predictable plot, but very cute, very sweet, very fluffy, which, like, that's what I want out of a summer audiobook. So I'm definitely planning on reading Emma Lord's other book, You Have a Match? Is that what it's called? Anyway, I definitely want to listen to that. But this is basically about these 2 high school students who are having like this rivalry on Twitter, like a staged rivalry because it benefits their families' respective restaurants. And there's this whole thing about this app that's like keeps your identity a secret, and so there's kind of some confusion of like who they're talking to on this one app, and it's just really cute, very predictable, very fluffy, and was exactly what I wanted. And then yesterday I finally read Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. I have been meaning to read Heartstopper for so long. It was so cute. Again, kind of like Tweet Cute, just in the sense that like it was very fluffy, but very sweet. I love the art. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to read the other ones. Oh, and I forgot. I think this is... Whoa, I'm white. I think this is out of order now. But I also read The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson. I buddy read this again with Audrey, who I buddy read Truly Devious with. And I gave this 3.5 stars, which I think is what I gave Truly Devious. It is a solid sequel. The pacing in this is a lot better than Truly Devious. I think because you can just jump into it. You don't have to reintroduce all the characters and the academy and things like that. So overall, I did enjoy it, and I mean, all my ratings are very subjective, but I did drop it down. You'd think I would have rated it higher than the first one, but I dropped it down to, I think, exactly what I gave the first one, because there was this huge plot, like, mystery, right? There's a couple in this book, like, in the series. There's a couple mysteries, but one of them that is very important was finally revealed, like a whodunit, in this book, at the end of this book, and there's been a lot of suspense, a lot of speculation as to who it was going to be, and I didn't really have a problem with who it ended up being, but I did have a problem with how we found out. It just felt very, very anticlimactic and kind of obvious, so I was a little disappointed in that, just because the build-up had been so long, you know? But I still recommend it. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it all wraps up. I still really like so many of the characters, so that keeps it fun as well. Here's a weird little section where I had a lot of stuff going on in June and I did not update for a while. So I have 3 books that I read consecutively that I did not talk about at the time. So the first one I read was My Sister the Serial Killer by Owain Con Braithwaite, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I read it in one sitting. It was a very, very quick read, and basically the premise is that our main character is trying to help her sister because her sister keeps killing her boyfriends, and I was like immediately drawn into that plot. I thought that was such a cool plot. It just, the whole book itself has a really big theme of sisterhood, and there's a larger discussion of like the power dynamics between women who are conventionally attractive versus those who aren't. But because it was so short, I feel like we didn't get to know the characters as much as I would have wanted, and I think that would have made the book a little bit more impactful. And I also do feel like the first half of the book was just a lot more interesting than the second half, but still would definitely recommend. Alright, then I buddy read Hand on the Wall, which I gave 4 stars. This is the third book in the last book, I guess. Third and final book of the Truly Devious trilogy. And this one was by far my favorite. Unsurprisingly, I think. As you would assume with like a mystery trilogy, the third one was like the like paced the quickest, had the most reveals in it. And I just really love the way that the whole series wrapped up. And yeah, I just thought it was really solid. I obviously don't want to get into it since it is the third book, but I would definitely recommend that trilogy. And then the last book that I forgot to update you on was Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is kind of like a companion novel to the Truly Devious series. It just came out this year, and it still follows the main character Stevie, but she goes to a summer camp to solve a mystery, so it's kind of like a one-off thing. And I really liked it. I just love a summer camp setting. It just reminds me of the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap movie, which is like superior. I did give it 3.5 out of 5 because I think the pacing was just a little bit slow. And one of the characters that I didn't like from the trilogy was in this one a lot. But overall, I mean, it's such a perfect summer read. And I also really, really love like slasher films set at summer camps. And it kind of had like a horror movie summer camp vibe, so it was a good time. Definitely, I think I was more into the vibes of it and the setting of it than the actual plot, but it was a fun time. So I just finished reading One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and I gave this one 4 stars. It definitely took me longer than I thought to get through it, but I think that's like the one thing that I remember about Red, White, and Royal Blue when I read it was that the chapters were like so long. And I think just like mentally, I like shorter chapters because I feel like I'm moving through the story faster. And so I was kind of hoping that this book would have shorter chapters, but it definitely did not. And I also felt like it was like 100 pages too long. Like sometimes we just like were in certain scenes for what kind of felt like too long, where I was like, I get it. Like, we're done here. We can move on to the next thing. But that's kind of how I felt about Red, White, and Royal Blue, too. So maybe it's just the writing style. But I really loved the characters in this. I loved every single one, which is pretty rare. I don't know. Again, I went into this blind, as I do, so I didn't know that there was like any magical-ish elements in this whatsoever. So I was very caught off guard because it kind of was like, I'll do a quick Brave analogy for you, where at the beginning of the Pixar movie Brave, you're like, this story's about Merida. She's a badass. She doesn't need a man. She knows how to do archery and she likes horseback riding. And then like 30 minutes in, it's like, oops, my mom's a bear. Oops, my brothers are bears. My dad is hunting my mom. And it takes this weird, like, turn where everyone, like, the plot is just suddenly about fixing that one mistake. And it turns into, like, a bear movie. And it's so different from what you think it is at the beginning. So anyways, there's my Brave rant for you. But this kind of felt like that, where I really, really liked, like, the first 100 pages. And then this thing happened that I didn't know. It probably is on the back cover, honestly. I don't know. But it happened, and I was, like, so caught off guard. And in the end, like, the story wrapped up in a cool way. So I was like, I'm here for this. But at the same time, it was just, it felt like I was reading almost 2 separate books. But I think that's just on me. But it overall was just, like, such a feel-good read. And our main character, August, is just so relatable for people in their 20s, I feel like. And, like, August's whole friend group and everything just felt really, like, realistic. So I really, really enjoyed it for that. Hello. I did finish An Emotion of Great Delight today by Tahira Mafi. And I gave it 2.75 out of 5, which isn't the greatest. And I feel like it would have been lower if the book was longer, like too long, or the pacing was slow. But kind of what the substance of my 2.75 stars was the writing. I really like her style of writing. She definitely has like a vibe, a style that I know some people get annoyed with, but I do like that. So inherently that was kind of a plus for me. Like, it seemed to be marketed as, you know, it's about a teenager, Muslim American teenager,
post 9/11. My review on Goodreads and my star rating, I do not speak to the representation in this, obviously, and that's a huge part of it. So please look for reviews and on Goodreads and on BookTube from Muslim American readers. But I do think that, you know, that's how the book was marketed, was like post 9/11, and it didn't really focus too much on that. Like, it was set in, I think, 2002 and 2003, but it could have been set in 2020. Like, it didn't hit that hard enough, I don't think. Like, it didn't feel like a period, not a period piece, but you know what I mean. Like, the fact that it took place almost 20 years ago didn't really matter. The book just felt like 100 pages too short. The characters, I liked what we learned about them, but we didn't learn enough about them, in my opinion. And then the end was just very rushed. It felt like it needed to be a little bit longer because there's a lot going on. The book's like 200 pages. At least my ebook version was. It's really short. And so there's like so much that is packed in of, like, our main character, Shadi, her, like, family struggles, her dad's health, her mom's mental health, her relationship with her ex-best friend, her relationship with her friend's brother, her relationship with her siblings. There's, like, so much to unpack there, and it was all just kind of hinted at because the book wasn't long enough to go into detail about those kind of things, which I thought was a shame because I think there could have been some good things explored there and some good ideas there. Overall, like, it was a quick read. I like the writing style, so it was a solid 2.75 for me.
All right, that is my June wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this format. I just wanted to try something new. But who knows? I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but I am so glad to be back making videos, and I'm so glad to just be back in the reading mood. I hope you are all having a great day or night, and I will see you next time. Bye!